Okay, so next we're gonna learn about this thing called monetary base and the money multiplier. So remember, oopsie daisy. So remember we learned that what is it? That money supply equals currency in circulation plus demand deposits, right? Is this correct? Yes, it is. Great. Now another thing that we have is monetary base. I'm gonna call that monetary B, MB, which should not be confused with marginal benefit. Yeah, so monetary base equals currency in circulation plus reserves. So money and reserves. So neat thing, but if you actually go back to the 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 work that the thing that I just did before, where I did like and deposits money and all that stuff, and if you add up all the C plus RE, you end up with the original money, which was equivalent to $1,000. It's really cool. So basically, monetary base is just the original money that you had. So and money supply is basically how much did that monetary base change. So there's this thing called a money multiplier, which finds out the ratio between them. So the money multiplier equals money supply over monetary base. And you can write this as C plus D over C plus RE, which is cool, I guess, whatever. Now, since demand is always greater than reserves, this means that the numerator will always be greater than the denominator, so it's always going to be greater than 1. So basically, the money multiplier, basically is how much more deposits are created. That's like basically what the thing of this is, the idea of this is. Now, if the RE equals D, then it's just C plus D over C plus D, which is just 1. So, for example, if I keep 0.5%, I guess, and I give out 0.5, I guess, that's what I mean. Wait, no, deposits. Oh, no, this is, oh, my bad, haha. Demand equals RE, I mean, demand deposit equals RE means that anything that I deposit into a bank, like if I deposit like $50 into a bank, that's how much money the bank is going to keep. That means that there's no money like being lent out, so the money multiplier is 1, right? Because there's no like increase in deposits and all that stuff. So now we're going to assume for simplicity that C equals 0, that the money in circulation is equal 0. Why? Because money in circulation is basically like cash. And we don't use cash anymore, bro. Like, ew, cash, right? Ew. So, it looks like a weird ew, but whatever. So we can write the money multiplier as D over RE. Now, we learned from before that there's a thing called the reserve ratio, which is equivalent to what? D over R. Oh my god, jeez, bro, you gotta learn. It's equivalent to RE over D. Reserve ratio is how much you keep in reserves versus how much you deposit outside versus how much deposits there were. Hold up. Deposits. How much hold in your thing and how much people deposit into the bank. Good job. Okay. So if we just put this into this, we get that D over D times R, which is just 1 over R. So we have that the money multiplier equals 1 over R, which is the reserve ratio. So this is going to be kind of important because there's a lot of questions where you might have to like manipulate them a bit, figure them out, and all that stuff. And you'll have to use this money multiplier equals 1 over R. But if you ever forget, just remember this. Money multiplier is basically like how much does the money increase? Money increase is like the total change in money supply. So that's money supply over monetary base. Monetary base is the original money that was in circulation, which just happens to be C plus RE, and that is underneath C plus D. So cash, ew, so forget cash, bro, so that's just D over RE. And also you gotta remember that reserve ratio is reserves over deposits, so when you replace it in, you get money multiplier equals 1 over reserve ratio. So that's going to come in handy because there's like a lot of questions where they might ask stuff like that. Great. Also remember this, money supply curve is always fixed because we assumed that it is determined by the central bank. So whenever you're drawing stuff out, like a graph or whatever, it looks like this. Oh my god, I messed up. It looks like this. Here's money demand, which we're going to talk about. Actually, we're not because I already understand, so I don't need to do this. And here's money supply. So if we're ever like too low or whatever, or too high, we just move up or move down, yada yada yada. Okay? So yeah, I think that's it for today. I think we're good. Alright, okay. So the target for overnight rate, you're always confused about this. So here's basically what it is. The target for overnight rate is like, so with these, okay, so the target for overnight rate is an interest rate. Okay, so basically it's like how much I have to pay if I want to like borrow your money. So basically, if the Bank of Canada, and this is like how much the target for overnight rate is how much do these little banks, these commercial banks like Scotiabank, have to pay the other banks like RBC, for example, to borrow their money. This is like overnight. And why would they want to borrow their money? Well, basically, if they're like short of change, if they're like, oh no, we don't have enough money, oh no, trouble. They need money, so they're gonna borrow from the other guy. So basically, if the Bank of Canada is like, let's reduce the overnight rate. I'm gonna call the overnight rate an OR. Is that okay? Let's call it TOR. Torrent. The Bank of Canada reduces the target for overnight rate. That means that the interest rate is smaller, which means that banks are going to be like, hey, I can borrow because it's cheaper, right? So this means that they're going to be like less strict on how much money they're keeping in the reserves, because they're going to be like, if I am ever rich, I mean, if I'm ever poor, I can just like easily borrow money from another bank, because the target for overnight is small, so I don't have to pay that much. So basically, what this means is that if the Bank of Canada reduces the target for overnight rate, banks are going to keep less money in their reserves. So reserves go down, and what is this again? First of all, as reserves go down, that means that they give out more money. So they lend out more money. Lend money. And if they lend money, well, smaller reserves means they lend out more money, which means those the people that they lend the money out, they deposit more. So deposits increase. And since money supply equals C plus D, since deposits increase, money supply increase. Does this make sense? So basically, the target for overnight rate increases, the money supply will increase. There's a few questions like that, whatever. I think you're good with that. Next question.